Hey YouTube, Scarecrow here. I'm here today. I'm gonna do like a review on the Q4 set in terms of like standard. I'm not gonna really talk about it in terms of premium. I'm just gonna cover it in terms of standard. I've been playtesting all the new stuff as it's been being revealed to us. That's like that's like 3-4 weeks now. Obviously it was slow at first and they've been revealing everything. Now we pretty much know everything in the set. We know all the holos. We know like most of the commons, like the rares. We pretty much know the whole set. So there's no excuse to say that we don't have like any. We shouldn't know what the set is like now. And I've been playtesting everything. Every time a new card's shown, I would like playtest for like several hours, get to know it all. But I'm playtesting every day. So I got a pretty good feeling for it all. So I'm going to let you guys know what I found and what I think of the cards. So getting started with the first card, Alfred. I'm going to rate these, by the way, on a scale of 1 to 5. Actually, I should start by mentioning a few things from the trial decks, I guess, even though they aren't part of this set. At least going to cover Blaster Blade and Overlord. Blaster Blade, to me, is like a 2 to 3 out of 5. He's not that good. It's really awkward to get his crit. You need like to have like a perfect hand in your second turn to even have the crit active. So it's hard to say that it's even good. And its skill to kill things is not that great either because it's a soul blast as part of the cost. And you want to keep your soul for your Soul Savior Dragon to go end the game. So not a very big Blaster Blade fan. Blech. And then Dragonic Overlord, 5 out of 5. Very good card. Super good. Probably the best card in his clan. It just puts so much pressure on the opponent throughout the game. They can almost, like, unless you're at like 1 damage, maybe 2, you can't afford to like let him hit. He's too dangerous. Even at 2, you could no guard. They drive check a crit, you go from 2 to 4, he restands, swings with you with that crit again. And if it hit again, you would die. Overlord is a very, very good card. But, alright, getting on to like the set. So, starting with King of Knights Alfred, 3 out of 5. Not bad, but not great. As I was saying, Blaster Blade is not that good. I was just telling people just before, the day before he was revealed, King of Knights, I was hoping that he would have absolutely nothing to do with Blaster Blade, so I would have an excuse to just take Blaster Blade out of the deck. Unfortunately, he does have to do with Blaster Blade. So if you don't have to run him in Blaster Blade, if you don't want to, you can just run like Gigantic Charger and or Star Drive Dragon, along with like 4 Soul Savior. You can do that and just go for the Beat Sticks. That might actually be the better deck. You can run King of Knights in Blaster Blade though. It's okay. It's just disappointing and not as good as like you might want it to be. Next is Imperial Daughter, 3 out of 5. She's not a particularly amazing card. She's not bad, she's just not as good. And CEO Amaterasu is much preferable to her. Amaterasu does so much more for you. You really only want to ride Imperial Daughter the turn you are going to win the game, and if you don't win the game that turn, you're probably going to lose. Even if you survive their turn, you're probably not doing anything on your next turn. The deck is very counterblast heavy. You run out of counterblast very quick, and it puts you in an awkward situation trying to like push your opponent into a corner, which you'll need to use your counterblast for your other cards to push them into that corner. But then you're trying to hold onto a counterblast and hold on to the princess so you can drop them and go for the kill. And like the princess gets big and has a crit, and she could buff her rear guard, but like that's also not like that threatening compared to like what Soul Savior Dragon can do, or like Dragonic Waterfall. So 3 out of 5 is what I have to say about her. Dragonic Waterfall, 4 out of 5. Very good card. Or Kagerou's like only real like bad matchup, and it wasn't even like that bad, was OTT, because as I was saying, Overlord is so threatening. Being able to like perfect guard him with ease and keep the threat of his on hit away was Kagero's weakness. But then they made Waterfall, and now that weakness is gone. Kagero, in general, in my experience, doesn't have a bad matchup in the format. So, Waterfall is a good card. Moving on to Perfect Riser, he's somewhere between a 3 and a 4 out of 5. That might surprise people, but I'll try to explain it to you. He's not bad. He's pretty decent, but he's not as good as you might think. He's counterblast heavy. You can typically only get him off like twice in a game, and you might think that his on-hit effect would help with that. But the problem is it almost never actually hits. I can count on like one hand out of like dozens of games where his effect has actually gone off because the attack hit. He usually gets blocked. You might think, yeah, blocking them is just putting pressure on them, and that's a good thing. But in my experience, it really isn't actually helping. Yeah, you're forcing them to block him, but like they planned their turn to block him anyways. They let the rear guard sit, and then they blocked him. And if you're not actually getting him to hit and getting that counter charge back, then you're probably not going to be able to do a whole lot when it gets back to your turn anyways. So, moving on to Soul Savior, 5 out of 5. This is definitely among like the top 3 best grade 3s in the format. Very good card. I don't think I need to explain it. Plus 15 to your whole field, even by like premium standards, that's pretty fucking strong. Going on to Akane, 5 out of 5. Really good card. Makes a field, gets you that Pongal by deck thins, and soul charges, gives you soul to build up for your soul safe. Good card. CEO Amaterasu, good card. 5 out of 5. Really good. As I said before, you're going to want to spend almost the entire game playing OTT on Amaterasu until like you're like, I gotta end it this turn because there's probably not another turn, and you go into your Imperial Daughter. Very good card. CEO's really good. Amongst the best, 3 of the best grade 3s in the set. Silent Tom, not fantastic. 3 out of 5. While he's, I wouldn't call him bad, and you probably should be playing him, he's not that good. He's, as I said before in OTT, is very counterblast heavy, and it can be awkward to try and push the opponent into a corner, which you're going to have to be using your counterblast to push them into that corner. And then at the same time, you're like trying to hold on to an Imperial Daughter, you hold on to a Silent Tom in your hands so that you can do them, and you got to keep 2 counterblasts open, 1 for each of them. It's awkward. I like the other grade 2s in the deck better. I still play him and liked him, but he's not as good as you would think or hope. Like 3 out of 5 is what I have to say about him. Maybe 2.5. Next is Circle Magus. Really like this card. 4 out of 5. The first skill where you get to draw by putting one of your drive checks back. It's pretty good. Like if you drive check a 3, you're like, I don't need this 3. I want some defense. Pretty useful skill. The second skill though, where when you ride on it, you can draw. Really good. Like it. Next is Berserk Dragon. 4 out of 5. Good card. Like it. Works on rearguard. Works on Vanguard. Gets a buff. Team up with an 11k booster like air mode. You hit good numbers. The only like downside to this thing is the way the format plays out. It's not even really Berserk Dragon's fault. Is the way the game plays, like let's say the Kaiser player goes first, they ride their grade 1, the opponent rides their grade 1. Usually people don't call things on their first turn in this format, they just ride their grade 1 attack. So when it gets back to your turn and you go to ride Berserk Dragon, there won't be often anything for you to actually kill. Especially because your opponent will realize they're playing Kagero and realize you're going to ride Berserk Dragon and won't call anything. You can still counterblast, soul blast, and get the draw 1, which is kind of a heavy cost just to draw 1, but it's still better than nothing. So he's good, but like that's what's holding him back, and that's why I'm saying he's like a 4 out of 5. Next is Airmo. It's like between a 2 and a 3 on a scale of 1 to 5. I want to say more toward the lower end though. Like He's not a bad card. Like, amongst your grade 1 choices, you probably should be playing for Airmo. He is an 11k booster, and sometimes, very rarely, you actually use his skill to countercharge and draw. But it's weird to like give this card a low rating, but say you should probably play it. It's just not as good as it should be for being a triple rare. And like, you're gonna play him, but you're not gonna feel like he's that much value either. So next is a Kaiser. I would say a Kaiser is like a 3, maybe a 3.5. He's not as bad as people have made him out to be compared to Perfect Riser. He's like, this thing doesn't have to counterblast in order to be helpful. And that's where there's the advantage to it. Like, often I'd actually like to ride him before I go into Perfect Riser later on, because he's not going to have to use it in my counterblast early. And then there's also, as I said, late game when you're run out of counterblast and you can ride into him, and you'll be like, look, now I don't have to counterblast and can still do things. Although it's probably better to go for him earlier than later, because you'll just have less grade 3s to drive check and stuff. But Mithril, the Royal Paladin guy, he's like a 2.5 out of 5, I'd say. He looks good at first glance, but then you realize this is a 9k in a clan where almost all the grade 2s are 10ks. And he's got a Soul Blast. And as I said about Blaster Blade, you don't want to be Soul Blasting. You want to be keeping it all for your Soul Savior Dragon. You're better off just playing other things like Beat Sticks and stuff than playing this guy. You've already got things like Marin, Allen, Kane and stuff to like build your board. You don't really need his help. So, yeah. Next is Marin. 5 out of 5. Really good card. I don't need to go too much into it. Good card. All the draw triggers that are perfect guards, you should be playing those. No question. There's no reason to be playing the grade 1 perfect guards in standard. Victorious Deer. That card is bad. 1 out of 5. I've actually tested it. I'm not just insulting the card because it doesn't look good to me. I've tried it. You are not going to get to use this card like almost ever. As I said, it's already hard enough just playing with like Imperial Daughter and CEO and having like your play set up. The Deer is just too slow and situational. You're better off just making your deck more consistent by playing like just Imperial Daughter and CEO, or even like the other grade 3s, like the commons and stuff are better than the Deer. Don't play the Deer. Not good. Promised Daughter. She's like a 2.5 out of 5. She's not a bad card. She's a 15k beater, and she can't be killed by like Kagero and stuff. So she's not bad, but I've just found the other grade 2s in the deck to be like more value than her. So yeah. Cruel Dragon. 1 out of 5. That card is garbage. Don't even think about playing it. Dragonic Gaius, also a 1 out of 5. Not a good card. You don't usually struggle with your soul in the deck. You have enough Soul Blast to just do what you need to if you're not like being overzealous. And minusing 1 to get a crit isn't worth it. Usually if Overlord or Waterfall were going to hit anyway, you were already probably winning. So don't waste your time playing, guys. High Powered Riser Custom, 3 out of 5. He's not as good as you would probably think, and probably not for the reason you're thinking. I don't think I've almost ever pulled off his on-hit skill. It's just not that helpful. The most helpful thing about this card, actually, is just the fact that he's giving you a free booster to the field. It's not a big boost. The fact that he's giving you a boost at all is helpful. Nova Grapplers don't handle card advantage very well. So having free anything is helpful, especially when your numbers aren't that big and you're fighting Force Clans. You need a booster, period. So the most valuable thing about this guy is just that he gives you a booster. Next, Riser Custom, the grade 1. 4 out of 5. It's a good card. However, its first effect, the one that lets you attack on the first turn of the game, that effect is terrible. Don't use it. It's really bad. He's a good card for his second skill. When something in front of him stands, he stands too. That's fantastic. That's really good. Just don't waste your time on his first skill. Not good. Next is Fungal. It's a Royal Paladin, grade 2. It's like a dog. 4 out of 5. It's a good card. When it attacks, you can counterblast, do a soul charge, and get +5. So it's a beat stick, and it pumps up your soul to make your soul savior faster. It's a good card. Morgana, like 2 out of 5. That might even be generous. Not a very good card. She does a soul blast, and she just gets a buff. Not even like, she's not that good. And as I keep saying, you don't want to be soul blasting other than your soul savior. Next is Pongal. Very good card, obviously. You call it off of your Akane. It gets you a soul charge. It can buff you, soul charge to trigger. It's a good card. 4 out of 5. Yellow Witch Mimi. I really like this card. 4 out of 5. So good. You just call it, scry. Good card. Next is Goddess of Insight. Also at 4 out of 5. Really like these two. These are the cards I was talking about, that I prefer them over Silent Tom. Like, I still play Tom, but I also like playing these guys. Both these cards are really good. Oracle Guardian Gemini, 2 out of 5. It's not a very good card. You can, if you're at 3 or more, you can use it to like sacrifice him and get a counter charge. And as I've said, this deck is very counterblast heavy, so like giving you resources can be helpful, but it's usually, in my experience, not worth minusing 1 yourself, especially since that -1 is a booster. You're gonna need your boosters in this deck to hit good numbers, because like you're not a force clan, your columns are kind of weak to start. So, and especially when you're playing against something like Kagero, who's killing your boosters, like you don't want to also be sacrificing more than just what they're killing. Gemini's not too good. For Fale Magus, it's like the grade 1 copy of the Yellow Witch. When you call it Scry 1, and it's a 8K, it's a 4 out of 5. It's a good card. Always happy to see that card. Vortex Dragon, 2 out of 5. Not very good. You have better options that you can play other than that card, so don't waste your time. Unless you can't like afford to get them all, I guess. Striken, the Kagero grade 2. 3 out of 5. It's a pretty good card, to be honest. I actually like playing it. If you are the Kagero player, let's say you went first, you did an attack, it was your opponent's turn, they rode, attacked you. Your turn, you ride Striken, you end turn because you can't attack. It's your opponent's turn. They don't have any counterblast because you haven't attacked them yet. So their options of what they can do to you are limited. They're probably just going to ride and attack you. It gets to your turn. You ride your Overlord. You make up for the fact that you didn't drive check last turn by counterblasting 1 to draw. Your Overlord gets the power in the crit. It gives himself the force trigger. He swings. He's like 38 by himself with a crit. If your opponent does not block that attack, and then you drive check a crit, your opponent goes from 0 to 3. You restand, swing, they go from 3 to 6. He fucks with your opponent, hinders their ability to do things early, and then makes your turn 3 ride into Overlord a very high pressure attack. So he's pretty good, actually. Battledore Dragon, 2 out of 5. Not a fan. Ryopia, I think that's how you say his name. He's a grade 1. When something dies, he gets +5. He's, as far as grade 1 options for the deck go, he's pretty good. 3 out of 5. I like him. Next is Battledore Fighter, the Nova Grappler, I think it is, the one that has like the guard restrict. He's a good card. I say he's like a 3 out of 5, but there are better options to play, and you don't really have the room for them. So, next is Miss Splendor, 2 out of 5. I've actually found the hero cards to be disappointing and not really worth playing. Next, Burstrizer, the grade 2 guy, 4 out of 5. That card is really good. When he attacks, he restands himself. He combos really good with Riser Custom, the grade 1, so that you can swing, restand him, and then his booster restands. So like, you swing with the column, and instantly you're like restand it, ready to keep going. Good card. Next, Boomerang Thrower, 2 out of 5. When you play him, he can get you like resources back, but he's not very strong, and the deck doesn't super struggle with its resources, so it's not really worth investing into. Gigantic Charger, 4 out of 5. That card is a good card. He's a 13. The turn you play him, he gets himself plus 10, becomes 23. And if he's sitting on the field and then you ride another grade 3, he'll buff plus 10. So he's usually, like, every turn consistently, like, a 23. He's a good card. Knight of Devotion, 2 out of 5. Not a fan. Herculean Knight, 1 out of 5. That card is bad. Anil. Anil's like the Gojo clone. When he attacks, he can buff. 2 out of 5. Like, it's not that he's bad and that you shouldn't play him. He's a decent choice in your grade 1 lineup, but he's also not fantastic. So, Mirubiru, bad. 1 out of 5. Not worth playing a Vanguard booster. Lion Mane. Lion Mane is a pretty decent card, but it's not fantastic. I gotta say it's like a 2 or 3 out of 5. Not fantastic, not bad. It's just okay. Gyro. I don't know why you would play this card. It's 1 out of 5. It's grade 0. It's not your starter. It's not even that good of an effect. Battle Maiden Sarasha, I think is her name. 3 out of 5. She's the grade 3 OTT. Like, if you don't want to play for Imperial Daughter and for CEO, I would suggest probably going for this card, somewhere in that mix-up, because she's pretty good. I like her. 3 out of 5. She's good for what she is. Next is Shitoise. She's also a Oracle Think Tank grade 3. She discards Sentinels to get plus 10. As I've said, I don't know if I said it here, but I've said it somewhere at some point today. When you're playing OTT, you'll often find yourself with an abundance of PGs, like more than you need, to where you're going to have to be discarding PGs to PG. So you do have spares, but I don't know that I would use that as a good excuse to play this card. So 2 out of 5. Next is Juice. 2 out of 5. Not that great of a card. Solid Turtle, 1 out of 5. I don't know why you would waste your time on this card. Goddess of Flowing Time. It's a Vanguard booster. You shouldn't be wasting your time on that. 1 out of 5. Petal Fairy, 2 out of 5. Shooting Bobby, 3 out of 5. That card is pretty good, actually. Like, he's not like super good, but he's pretty good. He's only a 7k vanilla, but has 15 shield. Like, he's a weak booster, but that shield is pretty big. I like him more than I like Gemini. So yeah. Next is Luckbird. Luckbird is a pretty decent card. It's like a 3 out of 5. It has a good skill. You get to draw, and it gets plus 6. It's cost heavy, though. It's a Soul Blast 2. Which the deck doesn't really struggle with Soul that much. But you want to be a little careful on how many. I wouldn't play 4 Luckbirds, probably. You're not going to probably get to do him that often. He's still a pretty decent card, though. Spillover Dragon, absolute trash. 1 out of 5. Flame of Destruction, 1 out of 5. Instigate Griffin, 2 out of 5. This guy, he can buff one of your cards, so if you want, you can use him as a thing to buff like Vanguards, like Overlord and Waterfall, to make them hard to block. But the Griffin's also a 7k, so Gabja, I think is her name. She's like a grade 1 7k who can get plus 10, but she only makes 17, so she doesn't make a good attack on a force deck anyways. And she only does it when something was killed. I'm not that big of a fan of her. Maximum Riser, 4 out of 5. This is a good card. He's a grade 3 Nova Grappler, and if he's not boosted when he's attacking, he gets plus 10. So, like, as I've said, Nova Grapplers struggle with their card advantage so often. Like, even if this card's on a regular rearguard column, you're not going to have a booster for him anyways, but he'll still be, like, buffing himself to good numbers. And if you put him in an Excel circle, he's going to have 10 more on top of that, and he couldn't even be boosted while I was there anyway, so... Iron Killer, 3 out of 5. He's like the grade 2 who buffs if you have like 3 or more rear guards, so he's a 14. It's not like fantastic, but he's pretty decent. I liked him, so 3 out of 5. Cup Bowler, as I've said, I wasn't a big fan of the hero cards. They're just like, their synergy isn't quite good enough, and there's not like enough of them, so 2 out of 5. Death Army guy. Yeah, Death Army guy. He's the 9k, grade 1, with no shield. I underestimated this card a little bit. He's not that bad. To me, he's like a 3 out of 5. Teaming him up with another 9k, like another grade 2, lets you hit good numbers against force decks. It hits 18. And he's really cool to ride turn 1, so that you can be a 9k grade 1 and your opponent's probably riding an 8k. He's pretty decent. Obviously his weakness is the no shield, but he's also not that bad. And as far as like the grade 1 options go, there's not a lot of them. So, Transriser, 1 out of 5. Card's not very good. Jet Riser, not very good either. But you probably will play this card for what it looks like right now, because there's not a lot of other grade 1s you can play. Rocket Hammer, as I've said, the hero cards aren't that good. Yeah, I think that's it for now. I think I pretty much covered the set. Thank you guys for watching. As I've, like, if you don't agree with me or stuff, like, that's fine. I'm not proclaiming myself to be like the law here. I'm just giving you guys my experience. I didn't have to do this. I didn't have to like go out of my way and do this. I'm just trying to be helpful and offer some insight. If you don't like it, that's fine. You can do it yourself. Experience it yourself. You'll probably find that I was right, but that's not for me to decide. It's for you to decide. So, thank you guys for watching.